Now, primary night in Kentucky and Oregon. But before Barack Obama declares victory anywhere, he wants to make sure one thing is crystal clear for the remainder of the campaign, and that is, lay off my wife, Jack. You know, Barack, I'm sorry, but if you and Michelle are going to dish it out, you better learn how to take it. So here's the point tonight. Not only is Barack Obama an arrogant hypocrite, but if he gets elected, you better prepare yourself for the most politically correct, militant politically correct presidency in history. And here's how I got there. The Tennessee Republican Party is currently running an ad that raises questions about Michelle Obama's patriotism. Well, considering that she publicly said that her husband's candidacy is the first time that she ever felt proud to be an American, and the relationship with Jeremiah Wright, I don't know, I think questioning her patriotism seems perfectly reasonable. But more importantly, Michelle Obama is known as what is a campaign surrogate. Just like Bill or Chelsea Clinton and Cindy McCain, she's sent around in the country in an official capacity to speak on behalf of her candidate husband. She stops being a family member and becomes a campaign staffer who is then fair game. Surprise, surprise, Obama, the elitist, thinks the rules apply differently to him. Here he is, listen to this, laying down the law on ABC's Good Morning America.
If they think that they're going to try to make Michelle an issue in this campaign, they should be careful, because that I find unacceptable. The notion that you start attacking my wife or my family.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Obama. This race is for the presidency of the United States and not one of your egomaniacal rallies. Nobody's fainting here. Let's cut right to the chase. Tonight, America, here is what you need to know. On January 20th, Barack Obama told ABC that Bill Clinton, quote, continues to make statements that are not supported by the facts, that we have to directly confront Bill Clinton. Then in March, Obama railed against Bill Clinton for making statements that questioned Barack's patriotism. Besides his wife, there's a laundry list of what is off limits now to Chairman Obama. You can't, for instance, call him a liberal, because Obama calls it, quote, the same names and labels they pin on everybody. You also cannot question his toughness on the war on terror, because Obama says it's just an attempt to play on our fears. You also cannot question his extreme position on social issues, because Obama says it is, quote, the same efforts to distract us from the issues that affect our lives and turn us against each other. You also cannot use his middle name. You can't bring up his close relationships with accused extortionist Tony Rezko, or the Weather Underground leader and Pentagon bomber William Ayers, or the radical Reverend Jeremiah Wright, or his Middle East advisor who is meeting with Hamas. Because Obama says this represents, quote, pouncing on every gaffe and association and fake controversy. Well, I suppose we can get together and talk about the weather. If Obama has this many gag orders during his candidacy, can you even begin to imagine how intolerant and suppressive he will be as President of the United States? You know what? Mr. Obama, we the people will ask whatever the hell we want to ask. It is our country, after all. Now, I understand you sticking up for your wife. Nobody wants to take a cheap shot at your wife. But if you don't want your wife scrutinized, you've got to keep her off the campaign trail. Have her talking about cupcake recipes, not your policies. I can't figure out why you have no problem raising questions about Hillary Clinton's spouse, but she gets so defensive when anybody raises question about yours. Is it perhaps that Hillary Clinton's spouse is a man and yours is a woman? My gosh, are you a sexist? Arthur Brooks is the author of Gross National Happiness, and Joe Hicks is a conservative commentator and radio talk show host on KFI 640 in Los Angeles. Joe, let me start with you. Here is what Michelle Obama has said in stump speeches. This little 10-year-old girl knows what's at stake. She is to know that she's already 5 steps behind. She knows that her hopes for college are already dwindling. She feels the veil of impossibility and it's suffocating her. She said that on May 5th. On April 8th, she said the truth is someone's going to have to give up a piece of their pie so someone else can have more. She's not talking about actual pie. She's talking about policies. Fair game?
Of course it's fair game. I got another name for you. How about Teresa Hines Carey? Remember how she got savaged by the press and others because of the gaffes that she was public making? Listen, she's out there stumping for president. She's fair game. I think what we're being presented here with is a candidate who's saying, not only hands off my wife, but hands off of me too. So I think that's what we're seeing here, I think, is the first politically correct candidacy perhaps we've seen in recent memory. And frankly, I think the American public deserves some answers to all the things that you mentioned a bit earlier.
You're not going to get it. Arthur, let me give you another quote. This comes from Gordon Fisher. This is a former chair of the Iowa Democratic Party and part of Obama's Iowa support team and Obama surrogate. He said, quote, Bill Clinton cannot possibly seriously believe Obama is not a patriot and can't possibly said to be helping instead of hurting his own party. Wouldn't be bad if he ended it there, but he didn't. He said, Bill Clinton should never be forgiven, period. This is a stain on his legacy, much worse, much deeper than the one on Monica's blue dress. That is where you cross the line into personal. They don't seem to understand that they're doing the same thing, if not worse.
Yeah, well, they're asking for a pretty sweet deal here, because if you notice, Mr. Obama has a campaign strategy where he talks about pretty nice stuff, hope and change and things that we can all get behind. His wife has a message that's very important for his campaign. She's talking to people that will vote on the basis of feeling like victims, that feel like they have a sense of grievance. But that's a campaign message that at the general level just market tests horribly. Every time the Democratic Party is associated with being the party of bitterness and unhappiness, they lose elections. So what do you want to do? You want to make sure that the happy part is scrutinized and the unhappy part of the very same candidate's message is off limits.
Okay, here's Joe, what and everybody's going to be all up in arms when I say this, but these are the tactics of actual fascists, where they scare everybody away from asking any kind of question. I don't need to know about their sex life. I don't need to know about anything else, but there is seemingly code language, especially with Michelle Obama, that fits into the same kind of patterns and language of Jeremiah Wright, who we were accused of being racist and bigoted and taking out of context when we questioned him. And look what we found.
Well, it's important that we be critical of what Michelle Obama is saying because, these people are married. They apparently share a great deal in common. So it's almost like asking the same question that's being asked about Jeremiah Wright. How much of Michelle Obama's very sort of victimized view of the world does Barack Obama embrace and endorse? If he does, we need to know that. So I think there's some, in many ways, there's a lot of very, orthodox, left, liberal kind of ideology that's coming out of both of these individuals, and also out of Barack Obama, we can't forget here. So I think this notion that we can't be critical of the candidate's wife while she's stumping nationally and saying very provocative things, I think is just ludicrous.
Arthur, final word. How bad is this going to get if he's president of the United States?
Well, I think it's going to be bad for a while because basically he's playing on the idea that if we're a really gentlemanly country, we can't criticize his wife. But that's going to come to a screeching halt sooner or later.
Well, it's not just his wife. It's everything.
Yeah, sure, but that's going to end. I mean, it certainly ended in the case of Bill Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton took a real beating as soon as Bill Clinton got into the White House, and that's the same thing that's going to happen to Barack Obama, I think.
Okay, thanks, guys.